The rumour had been running about the town like a mad thing, and wherever it ran it left its tail behind it. Rumour, as you know, is a beast with many tails, and now everybody knew that the white stone had moved in the night, and had come rolling up to the gate of the town. "Whatever shall we do?" said the Lord Chief Magician, who was pounding up nasty things in the mortar ready for the free distribution of medicine the next day. "Smash it," said Negretti. "I'll take a turn at the medicine while you go and see the thing done." So the Lord Chief Magician called together the Permanent Committee of Black and Coloured Magic, and sent them to break the stone. And when they began to hit it with their hammers and picks, 17 sharp splinters of white stone flew off, and each splinter hit a member of the committee in the eye, and killed him. There were exactly 17 members as it happened. So then the Lord Chief Magician shut the town gates, and ran home, and hid under the bed. And the people of the town were very much interested in the stone that had rolled by itself, and had killed 17 members of the committee, and they made little parties and picnics all day long, taking their children to look at the stone, and carrying sandwiches with them, and bottles of beer. The Magician was very angry. "Such rubbish I never heard of," said he, when the tell-tale tit alighted on the window-sill and told him of it. "If they want to look at anything, why can't they come and look at me? I'm sure I'm coloured enough." That night the stone rose up in the thickest of the black dark, when no one at all is out of doors, except the police, and not always him, and it smashed through the town gate and came rolling right up into the square, and lay there. The tell-tale tit awoke the Magician in the morning by singing the news sharply in his ear, and he went out to see. There was a great crowd in the square, and they all cried out, "It is a magic stone! It will bring us luck! Build it into the royal palace!" "I might do worse," thought Negretti. "If good Roman cement and a double coat of magenta paint doesn't keep it quiet, nothing will." So he gave orders, and the stone was carted to the palace and built into the wall over the great gate, and while they were gone to fetch the red paint to cover up the stone and the mortar, the Lord Chief Magician came out from under his bed, and went sneaking up to the palace and in at the gate. And the stone fell on him and smashed him quite flat. Then Perihelia came running out, and she washed the mortar off the white stone by her sunlight magic. And when the Magician came out, she said, "Let it lie here to-night, and to-morrow, if you will let me go, I will take it away to my own kingdom, so that it shall never trouble you again." Negretti agreed, because he did not know what else to do, and he was beginning to despair of the Princess ever marrying him, because he had now asked her to do so every day for a month, and always with more display of plush and jewels, and she said no more decidedly, and even crossly, every time. So he began to lose heart. That night, just when the moon was waning and before morning broke, Princess Perihelia slipped down the palace stairs and into the garden to look once more on the place where the White King had promised to love her always. And when she came to that same place, there was the white stone, lying under the shadow of the white rose bushes, and pearly rose leaves had fallen all over it, and were falling still like tears. Perihelia knelt down beside the stone, and put her arms round it, and said, "Poor stone, dear stone, what is it that troubles you so that you cannot rest? If I only knew, I might help you with my sunlight magic. Why are you so troubled, and why do I pity you so? Oh, if my White King were here, he would understand and help you, but I can do nothing." With that she began to weep over the stone, calling on the White King to come back to her. And all the while she was talking and weeping, the moon was waning, and the light in the east grew pearlier and prettier minute by minute. And as she wept and clasped the stone, she presently saw in the glowing light that the stone was changing in her arms. Like white sands falling in an hourglass, the white stone fell away, until the sun looked through the white rose bushes, and saw Perihelia clasp the living form of the White King in her loving arms. The sun's was not the only eye which saw the meeting. The Magician had had a bad night, and he came out early, curious to see whether the stone had moved again. His curiosity was gratified. When the White King saw his treacherous brother, his tongue was loosed. Hitherto kisses had been speech enough for him, and he spoke the words which he found in his mouth. And they were, naturally enough, the last words that had gone in at his ears, and the words were first Persian, and then Greek, and then Arabic, and Spanish, and the language of foreigners from Essex. And the words he wound up with were, "Be changed into a stone." But the wicked spell that had turned King Alban into a stone had grown weaker by keeping, even as Twentyport did when it was kept too long, and it had no longer power to do what it ought to have done. It could not turn the wicked magician into a stone, as I am sure you would wish it to have done. It was only strong enough to turn him into a wooden post. I do not wish to have to mention such an unpleasant character as Negretti again, so I will tell you at once the end of him. He remained a post for ever and ever, and later on, when King Alban had begun to do things for his people's good again, he thought it a pity to waste even a post, for he was ever a careful king. So he had it made into a pump, and the water from it was bitter and nasty, like the medicine the magician used to give the people, and it was very good for children, and gave them a nice bright colour in their cheeks. Take care you do not grow pale, or you may have to drink the water out of that pump. It is now at Harrogate, or Epsom, or Bath, or somewhere, and you might quite easily be taken there and made to drink that unpleasant water. The first persons who had to drink it were the magician's retinue. The king thought it would be good for them, and they were very grateful. But the next night they stole the state barge, and went home by sea to their own country. Among his other improvements, the king started municipal omnibuses, which were white and gold. But the pump being near the place where the omnibuses changed horses, the conductors used to take the bitter water to wash the omnibuses with, and gradually they became scarlet, and blue, and green, and violet, just as you see them today. So now you know the reason of the colour of omnibuses. And this is the end of the magician's part of the story. When the magician had been turned into a post, the king said, "I'm very sorry." But the princess said, "Dear, he deserved it, and being a post is not painful. Let us never think of him again. I have learned many things since I came here. I have something to break to you. Do you think you can bear it?" "I can bear anything now," said he, holding her in his arms and kissing her again, because she was so very dear. "Well," said Perihelia, "I am Princess of the Sun, and if I marry you, my own dear king, I shan't be able to help colouring your pretty white kingdom a little. Just soft sweet colours, dear, and not an inch of plush. We'll make a law against that the very first thing. And you shall go on teaching your people to be good, and I'll try to teach them to be happy. Do you think I can?" The White King smiled. "You've taught me," he said. "But now, before we do anything for the people, let's go and get married, and we can begin to make them new laws directly we've finished breakfast. We shall just have time to be married if we go off to church at once." So they went off and woke up the Archbishop and were married, and the Archbishop came home with them to breakfast, and afterwards they began to make laws as hard as they could. The first law was, there is to be no plush at all in this kingdom. And now Albanatolia is the most beautiful country in the world, all soft sweet colours and clear pearly white, and the Queen Perihelia has taught the people how to be happy, so the king has very little work to do, for they are good almost without his interfering at all. It is a lovely country. I hope you will go there one day. I went there once, but they would not let me stay because I had a black coat on and gaiters, and the sight of these clothes made the people so unhappy that the Queen asked me as a private and personal favour to go away, and never to come back unless I could come dressed in something like the colours of the clouds at dawn. I have never been able to manage this, and anyway, I don't suppose I could find the way there now. But if you could get the proper dress, perhaps you could. End of The Plush Usurper. End of 9 Unlikely Tales by E. Nesbit.